no opposition to my being the chairman of the party. And I hope this confidence will also come from the parliamentarians who make up the government of St. Lucia. My mandate, I will follow the mandate given to me by you. Not by the government, but by you. And by extension, I know I will make a difference to you, the people, and to the entire St. Lucia. I therefore, with open arms, accept the elevated position of chairman of this great United Workers' Party. And I am not doing it for myself, and when I tell you that, you can believe me. I am doing it because I have heard your voices. I have heard the voices of our people. My government have a very good blueprint for St. Lucia. And I know that if they follow that blueprint and listen to what you, the people on the ground, are saying, that no one, no party will be able to remove the United Workers' Party from office. I will do whatever is required of me to make sure that our government governs properly for all of us. And when I say all of us, I mean the entire St. Lucia. But one thing, and I said it before, they must remember that if you don't take care of your soldiers, and I want to repeat it again, if you don't take care of your soldiers, you will not win the war when the time comes. My government have lots of plans for a better St. Lucia. And the plans are good. The plans are great. But I want to warn them, consultation is the key for everyone to stand behind you. And the problem is, when there is trouble in your own home or your people do not know what is going on, you have to take stock, you have to rethink and change your strategy. And the weakness I have seen in my government is there is not enough consultation. The PR is picking up. The PR is picking up. You will hear some previews of a talk show to commence in January on HTS, as very early in January. So the party will have its own talk show, which will be hosted by Mr. Norbert Williams. I will now turn my missiles to the opposition. The ones who think that they are the only people that could govern St. Lucia. And the reason why I'm deviating from this is because we will not have an outdoor political meeting after, but all the speeches will be made in here. I know I will not be back to fire up on the opposition, so I will take the opportunity to do it now. I understood that the opposition lodged a vote of no confidence in my Prime Minister. Now, this was done only to create mischief, to show the world that my Prime Minister is doing things wrong. That my Prime Minister have failed the people of St. Lucia. They're trying to show the world this. Comrades, delegates, friends, the vote of no confidence was done on the 6th of June 2016 against the St. Lucia Labour Party. That was the vote of no confidence. St. Lucia presently is doing well. The economy is great. Look at our tourism. Brothers and sisters, look at what is happening to this country. Look at the Bank of St. Lucia, recorded growth in the last 6 months, in the first 6 months of this year, when before they were operating at a loss. It shows you that something is good in this country. We have had record cruise arrivals. I hope Dominic don't pick on me for treading on his stove, because that's his stove. Brothers and sisters, things are shaping up. We all know that when a government wins an election, that everybody wants everything one time. But we know how the economy was. We have to take our time. They made promises. They fulfill the promises. Remember the 5 to stay alive. Our government means well. Give them a chance. You can see what is coming. You can see it. And I can assure you, under the Prime Ministership of Alan Chastanet, you have nothing to worry about. Brothers and sisters, a few nights ago, I heard a gentleman make a remark. Very, 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 very sad remark. I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know how a man who professes to love this country can make such a remark. Just give me 1 minute. Let me take another sheet of mine which I left in my folder. Brothers and sisters, there are people in this country who just don't want our government to survive. They will do all that is necessary because of greed. They will damage your country for their own pockets, brothers and sisters. They will not be looking at St. Lucia first, but will be looking at what you can give to them. In this light, brothers and sisters, I did have in my envelope something to say to you. It has disappeared, but if I do get it in the course of today, I will come back and say something about it to you. Nobody took it. I must have misplaced it, or it must have been somewhere there. But it was very, very, very serious business. I wanted to answer a man who was on television just during the week. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. If it was Wednesday, what was the statement he made? About the government that causes the crime? I'm glad you heard him. I'm glad you heard him. I'm glad you heard him. He spoke about the government is the one who are actually causing the crime in St. Lucia. But I want to remind that individual that most of the crime in St. Lucia is not being caused by the government. It is caused by people like him who encourages the crime in St. Lucia. Yes, he encourages the crime in St. Lucia. Because when you can tell me that you can store explosives on a site where you have workers, it is a very, very, very dangerous thing. So you cannot come and blame my government for committing crime. There are a lot of things that has happened, you know. You know who built the bridge at Chok? Not at Chok, the bridge at Badawanch. You know the cost of the bridge. You know an accident happened there because no signage, where a guy went straight under the thing and he got killed. You must remember those things. You must also remember the cost of the bridge. And people like him, he needs to understand that whether he don't like the Prime Minister is looking after the St. Lucia, and the Prime Minister is doing a job for St. Lucia. So brothers and sisters, I want to implore you. I may have another opportunity to get the information that I have to share with you. But I am saying here today, I want you to put your shoulders behind the United Workers' Party, behind the Prime Minister, behind the men and women you see on the platform. Give them all the support you can. Give it to them. They mean well. They do mean well. They will take you to the heights of flamboyism. they will take you there. If you look at the banner here, team workers implementing better policies for better lives. It may take some time, but at the end of the day, not only you, but everyone in St. Lucia will be happy of what the men and women of the United Workers' Party has done for this country. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. At this point, we will break for lunch. Okay, we will. Okay, at this point, we will have, before we take the lunch break, we will have the acceptance remarks by the political leader. And because I must apologize for that, because there was a slight change in the event this afternoon, and also the political leader was down to speak. So my apologies, and I would like to call on the political leader and Prime Minister to present his acceptance speech right now. Mr. Prime Minister and political leader.
Mamai Flabo! Esu Pawe! First of all, let me acknowledge all my colleagues at the head table, and in particular to congratulate first of all the delegation, the delegates, for electing a new executive, and to assure all of my colleagues of my full support in executing the vision of the United Workers' Party. Mamai Flabo, we are at a very important point in the history of St. Lucia. The journey to where we are today started many, many, many years ago under the leadership of Sir John Compton. And Sir John and the then United Workers' Party believed in a country that could compete against the best in the world. A country that did not go out cap in hand, begging for money, but believed in the ability of the people of St. Lucia and the God-given opportunity that he gave us when he put us to be born in this great island of St. Lucia. He embarked on a vision which he articulated all the time. But if we are going to be honest with ourselves, was not always understood. But Sir John did right by United Workers' Party, and he did right by the people of this country. And as a result of that even when people did not understand, they believed in him, the man. They believed that he genuinely cared for people. And more importantly, that whatever he set his mind to, he could have achieved. Unfortunately, after 30 years of being in office, every good event must come to an end. And the people of St. Lucia decided to experiment with the Labour Party, but more importantly, they tried to experiment with a gentleman called Dr. Anthony. And in fact, before Dr. Anthony was ever able to achieve anything in St. Lucia, he was already given the confidence by the people, which resulted in a 16-1 election. And even though for his first 5 years in office, there was very little to show, because the United Workers' Party could not get itself together, he was re-elected 14-3. It took a Sir John at the age of 83 and while there has been speculation, I would say to you that he knew that when he re-entered the arena of politics, that more than likely he could win the elections, but he would not be there with us to see the results of his work. Sir John showed what a true patriot he was, that instead of spending his last days and hours with his family, he chose once more to rise to the challenge to lead the people of St. Lucia. Such was the love that Sir John had for the people of this country. Unfortunately, despite the best efforts of many, United Workers' Party lost the election in 2011. And many of us, if we are truthful to ourselves, will admit that we only had ourselves to blame. That while it is okay for a party to have disagreements, the manner in which you deal with those disagreements on a basis of mutual respect is what is the keystone of the United Workers' Party. And we did not show that discipline, and too many of us publicly showed our displeasure with policies and issues within the United Workers' Party. And I would dare to say that we inherited an emotion that is not within the United Workers' Party, and that is one of selfishness. And that is one to believe that the government or the country owes any one of us anything special. But what the country owes us is an opportunity to make ourselves great. That it's always been the value of the United Workers' Party that if your government gave you an opportunity of a prosperous economy, that if you gave your children an opportunity to be educated, that if you gave us good health care and good infrastructure, that we individually could find a way to make our lives better. That is the value of the United Workers' Party that allowed the party to be in government for 30 years. But unfortunately, when we got elected in 2006, many of us were fooled by the Labour Party to believe that affirmative action was the best way forward. I know that when I went around to the constituencies to ask you for your support to be the leader, and we were able to spend many hours having this discussion, that you lamented the fact that you did not want to be in a country in which you could benefit but your neighbor could not. That there is no mechanism in which 50% of the people of St. Lucia can prosper, and that 50% of them would be left and vanquished. That is the United Workers' Party that I know. That is the United Workers' Party that I represent every day. This is no different than the meeting I just came from CARICOM, where it is clearly understood that no country in CARICOM can win by itself. None. There is no example of where we can win by ourselves. It requires unity. And that is why the U in United Workers' Party is there, because we are the party of unity. And when we put things on paper, and we take hours and days to go through each word, what does that word say? Isn't it not a meaningful word? That in our mission we talk about what? Prosperity for all. And that we genuinely have to be able to adopt policies and implement programs that are not going to benefit some, that's not going to benefit most, but is going to benefit all. Let us not forget why we came together in 2013 to bring about a change in the United Workers' Party. We did it because we were facing the certainty that our country was heading in the wrong direction. We had seen years of anemic growth, if in fact any growth. Unemployment was on the increase. There was nothing going on. There was nothing to give us any hope that things were going to change. In government was a party that could only promise things. And that is why we said that they are appropriately named Labour Party, because they are constantly in labor pains. They do not know how to deliver. They only know how to deliver to themselves. They are a party that clearly showed us that they had no vision. In fact, almost 14 years after being in government, it was only then that Dr. Kenny Anthony decided to do what? To appoint a vision commission. Not this party. We worked in opposition. And we came up with a manifesto that is not your leader's manifesto. It is your manifesto. That clearly outlines a vision for St. Lucia. We complained about the transparency of the Labour Party. Time and time again, we did not know what was going on. In fact, how bad their transparency was has become even more evident that we're in government now, in which we are discovering things that we did not know, that not even people in their own party knew. In fact, the name Bob Lindquist was nowhere to be found, yet the Labour Party spent over $1 million into an investigation into many of the members of the United Workers' Party. But we knew nothing. It was kept a secret. It is only when we got in government that we discovered. And what did we discover? That the accountant general who was supposed to have a copy of the contract, by law, all she had was a copy of the signature page. Yet payments were being made to the tune of $1 million. That the Attorney General wrote a letter to the Department of Justice of the United States of America, declaring one of our members as a person of interest. Since when does the Attorney General conduct criminal investigations into people in St. Lucia? That is the role of the DPP, not her. And in the letter that she wrote erroneous information to suggest that somebody did something wrong. When we were in the House, the member from Denver only when the newspapers in the United Kingdom spoke about a guy called Dr. Jufali. We did not know who he was. We did not know he was appointed as our ambassador. We had to find out from an English newspaper that he was appointed, but the evidence became very clear very quickly that he was appointed not to benefit the people of St. Lucia, but to benefit himself. And one must ask the question, why would anybody from government allow somebody to benefit from St. Lucia if there was not a benefit to them? To whom? So if it was not to St. Lucia, who benefited? So my flambeau, there was no transparency in the Labour Party. We were 100% right to say that. We talked about the gas tax. How was it that the price of oil was dropping, yet the price at the pump was not increasing, going down? So where was the money going? And very soon, I'll be presenting a report to the House to show you who got the money. Where is it that the Labour Party is associated to generating employment? Under the Labour Party, despite the fact that the world was growing at the fastest pace, unemployment was increasing in St. Lucia and declining everywhere in the world. There was only thing that the Labour Party did well was to increase the debt. And those of you who are small business people will understand what I'm saying. You cannot borrow money to pay for debt. So if you have a loan, you cannot make another loan to pay for that loan. Went to work every day not knowing where they were going. seeing no organization, nobody was being held accountable, nothing new moving. Security. I said to you, when I became Prime Minister and got sworn in that first week, none of the Marine Police boats were working. The radar system was not working. The forensic lab was closed. The courthouses were closed. We had no DPP, and where we were supposed to have 10 lawyers, we had 3. That is what we inherited. And the $200 million that we left in a savings account, Labour Party spent it all. So there was no reserves in the government. Vehicles were a mess. Policemen who were chasing criminals in the street were having to take out their own phones to call up the police station. And to add insult on injury, not only was it their own phone, but they had to top up the phone because government gave them no money to top up the phone. That is the condition of security in our country. Education. Your children go to the school. How many years no money was spent on the school? Fixing up the furniture. When we came in and we did an audit, it would take $30 million to bring the existing schools just back up to some basic standards. We've already spent 10, and we will be spending another $20 million on fixing up those schools. We all can see that the education system has been failing the people of this country, and in particular our young people. To fool everybody, they decided to give computers to the young people. But the computers were not part of the school curriculum. And soon kids found the only thing they could do on the computers was to surf the net. And so what was supposed to be something good turned out to be nothing. Because the Labour Party is only interested in fooling the people. They're not interested in doing the work. What was the condition of the roads in St. Lucia? Potholes all over the place. All we got was promises of new roads. And you had to go and beg somebody to try to get some roads fixed. There was no new plans coming up that we could believe in. Feeder roads for the farmers were non-existent. Crop diversification in agriculture. We went from 120,000 tons of bananas. And in the last year of Labour Party, I believe the number is right, 8,500 tons of bananas. That is what we inherited. When they talk about investment, and I have never said this before, they brag that they got Royalton Hotel to St. Lucia. But Royalton Hotel came to St. Lucia because the hotel that was there owed the Bank of St. Lucia $43 million. And the company that came in bought that hotel for $15 million. So that was a deal. But I am happy that they brought the Royalton Hotel in. They talk about Harbor Club. The person who got Harbor Club investment off the ground while in opposition was Alan Chastanet, not the Labour Party. Even in opposition, we wished well for St. Lucia and that we would support good investments in St. Lucia. We don't have to be waiting to be in government to help people. That's who the United Workers' Party is. So in 2013, when we came together and started to meet and put together a new constitution, a new vision, a new mission, and new values with this party. It worked, and we won the elections in 2016 by 10,000 votes. So your vision and what you have earmarked for this country, the vast majority of people in St. Lucia agree with you. We knew that there was no way that we could fix things overnight. And so on the boulevard, before the elections, we announced our 5 to stay alive. And 5 to stay alive were not 5 things to be able to bring St. Lucia into the future. It was what it was. 5 things to immediately bring relief to the people of St. Lucia. We said we would reduce the VAT. They said it could not be done. We reduced the VAT from 15% to 12.5%. We did it. We said we would relieve people for 3 years on house tax. They said we could not do it. We did it. We said we would double the school feeding program and the school transportation program. We did it. We said we would decrease the fees on cars. All those young people who were having to pay high license fees and didn't have jobs. We did it. And we said all of those elderly people and vulnerable people who are good, conscientious people, who are going to the hospital to get medical services, and the first thing they were told was how much money they owed them. And they were so embarrassed that they would not go back. We said we would give them an amnesty on their medical bills, and we did it. They told us it would not work and that we were fooling the people of St. Lucia. Well, guess what? The economy has grown by 3.7%. Unemployment is down from 25% to 21%. Because St. Lucians are believing in St. Lucia once more, and the little man is investing and moving, and all of those things gave people hope again. It gave them back their dignity. That is what we are in United Workers' Party. And we did not do it for some. We did not do it for most. We did it for everyone in St. Lucia. Unlike the NICE program, in which you would have to show a labor card. When you went to get your VAT reduction of 2.5%, you didn't have to show anybody a card. When you went to get pay your hospital bills, we never asked anybody how they voted. Because that's who we are. We are a party for all of St. Lucia. Mama Flambeau, we adopted a campaign where we said that St. Lucia is so broken that we have to build a new St. Lucia. And we said the party to do it is the party of workers. It would take workers to build a new St. Lucia. You cannot build a new St. Lucia overnight. But you can show that you're making progress in building a new St. Lucia. And we said that when we build that new St. Lucia, that we must grow our economy and we must increase the wealth to all. Very importantly, that we could not grow St. Lucia and the people who remain vulnerable are still vulnerable. That people who are poor remain poor. And that the growth is only going to a few in our country. If we did that, we were considered that we failed. So we had to develop programs that caused everybody to be able to grow. You said it in your vision. That we want to have what? Affordable, quality health care. We said if we want to be the preferred political party in St. Lucia, we must provide affordable, quality health care. We said we must provide a competitive
system. We must have public security. And we must have economic growth that everybody prospers from. Those are the four things. So, Mama Flabo, when the members in my cabinet sat down to put this plan together, in how we were going to deliver this, we asked ourselves some very basic questions. How do we grow this economy? And we quickly recognized that there are constraints to growth. That even if we did things and ran fast, the country could not grow. So as an example, if we wanted to bring more hotels to St. Lucia, the airport could not cope with any more people. We have to make the airport bigger. If we want to be able to allow small businesses to grow, and we want people to be able to prosper, we must have better roads. You cannot be spending over an hour to drive from Gros Islet to Castries. It can't take you an hour and 45 minutes to go from Castries to Vieux-Fort. We have to fix the roads. So we said, when we are growing this economy, we must be focused on the debt. We must be focused on the infrastructure. We have to be focused on the government. We have to be focused on education.
And more importantly, we have to be focused on equity. So whatever policies that we do, we must focus on those things in order for us to make these things happen. In infrastructure, it's not about just building roads.
Because the greatest threat that we have now is climate change. You just have to go to Dominica if you don't know what the potential impact is going to be and to see what's going on there. But we had no money. The country was in debt. I told you we were borrowing money to pay debt. So what did we do? We put on a gas tax, $1.50, that everybody who drives pays. If you don't drive, you don't pay. And that $1.50 produces $30 million of revenue a year. And we are going to the House on Tuesday, and I hope that many of you come and support us, in which we're going to be borrowing $150 million from the Taiwanese in order to pay for the airport and to have 300 million EC dollars that we can fix the roads of St. Lucia over the next 2 years. We put on an airport tax. The airport tax generates $70 million of extra revenue a year. And that money is being used now to pay for the loan, to put money aside now so we can build the north-south highway. That these are real, tangible things. And then we're going to put it where the Taiwanese construction company will be coming in here, OECC, to be able to execute those works. But guess what? They're going to be working with local contractors as subcontractors, providing training and making sure the funding is there so every little man can benefit
from these contracts. The British government has given us $140 million to start the work on West Coast Road. We can do it. The Japanese government have given us $40 million to build a new bridge in cul-de-sac. We can do it. We have given the money now to the Ministry of Infrastructure so that now people who are cleaning the main roads are getting a monthly contract to maintain the quality of our roads. We can do it. For years you've been paying taxes on your water bill and nothing to show for it. And we have now the Minister of Agriculture we've now been able to put $90 million together, and instead of the government of St. Lucia having to guarantee the loan is being guaranteed by WASCO. We can do it. We're spending another $40 million on continuing the water program in Dennery. We can do it.
We're spending $80 million to fix up
water in
Grace. Now produce 4.5 million gallons of water to the people in the South every day. We can do it. We're spending more money now to be able to triple the amount of water we're getting from the Chumash River. We can do it. We have to fix the sewage system in Castries. We cannot continue to dump raw sewage into our port. We can do it. Education. We spent $10 million last summer. We're going to spend another $10 million again next summer, and we'll spend another $10 million the summer after that in order to bring our schools back up to scratch. United Workers' Party, we can do it. Sir Arthur Lewis.
Everybody has known about the problem at Sir Arthur Lewis. How many times there's been a temptation to increase the fees at Sir Arthur? So it's not a problem that we have today. 80% of the buildings cannot be occupied up on the morn. That didn't happen today. But United Workers Party accepts the responsibility, and we can do it. We're now fixing the courts. We have a new magistrate court going in. We're now about to build the new police headquarters, which will include courts for our criminals. We can do it. The new border control system. We must take control of our borders. We must provide security at the point of entry. We must stop all these guns coming into our country. We can do it! All the young people in the South who continue to have to go up north to get educated, to continue to go north to get a job. When they try to ridicule us for Ojo Labs, where there's voices today, Ojo Labs is employing 270 people today. And by the end of next year, we'll employ 700 young people in the South. We can do it. When nobody wanted to provide an education system in the South, we did it. Now Monroe College has opened up in the South. 600 kids will be trained a year. We'll pay them $500 a month so they can pay their bus fee, can get a meal, provide them with a loan that they can be employed on the cruise ships and come back home as well-trained individuals. We can do it. They said the forensic lab could not be opened. We opened it. We can do it. The police headquarters. Everybody knows we needed a new police headquarters. For those of you who have gone into those police stations and seen bathrooms not working, no cold, no hot water, kitchens a mess, policemen sitting on boxes because the furniture is broken, termites all over the place. I want to thank my wife and I want to thank you for supporting her to make sure we can help our policemen. But we will give the policemen a world-class police headquarters that they can be proud of and that we can be proud of, because we can do it. Later this month, the CCT cameras are going up between Rosalie and Castries. The new communication systems for the policemen, that they now will be able to communicate with themselves without anybody listening, and they don't have to use their phone, will be in place. So I want to put the criminals on notice. Their days are numbered, St. Lucians are fed up, and we will take it no more. But I want to put the judges on notice as well. That when the policemen catch a man who is out on probation catch him with arms and give him bail again, that we will not stand for that anymore. We must modernize our civil service. It cannot be that every time you want to get something from government, you must take a line. Cannot be. We must be able to take online, not in the line. And we must decentralize government services so the people in the South, the people in Dennery, and the people in Soufriere don't have to come to Castries to get those services. We can do it. Your government is not going on the road to beg for money. Sarah and Gail and myself and Guy have been out there constantly trying to raise monies to be able to build resilience in our country. I've pointed out to my good friends in Europe that while they talk about climate change, and President Trump does not, but President Trump gave Puerto Rico $38 billion after the hurricane. And he gave the U.S. Virgin Islands $9 billion after the hurricane. But the rest of us have sat here wanting. I'm not asking for any favors. I'm willing to pay our own way. All we're asking for is a little opportunity, a little respect, and we will show them that we can deliver. We will do it. My young people, in our manifesto we said that we would put $10 million into St. Lucia Development Bank. I'm happy to tell you that we put $20 million because that's how much we believe in you. And in addition to that, we created a credit guarantee program. So if you're a young person or an elderly person and you don't have any assets but you have a great idea, and you go to the St. Lucia Development Bank, you go to a cooperative, you go to any one of the banks, they now will be able to apply to an OECS fund that will provide the guarantee for you for that loan. Because we believe the innovation and the future of our country is in you being entrepreneurs. We must use foreign direct investment to create new opportunities. But those new opportunities open up portals for you to be able to grow. But we genuinely will not be able to have income, wealth increase to all St. Lucians unless St. Lucians themselves become entrepreneurs. And we want to encourage you that if you have an idea, put pen to paper, come to the banks, let them say no, let me know, and we will fight for you because we can do it. They've asked us how we're going to solve the problem with crime. You cannot solve the crime with restored confidence. You have to fix crime from its root cause. That too many young people are growing up in households in which they don't have any leadership. Too many young people are growing up in households in which the prosperity is so bad, there is no hope. Too many young people who are living in the rural areas,
in order to get a chance of prosperity, come to the city. And the only thing they find is a family and a gang. A gang in which bravado is about going out to rob somebody, or bravado is about going out to shoot somebody, or more disgustingly, bravado is about going out and raping a young woman. I'm like, oh, we must take responsibility for that. That when I say to you that the government is broken, there's no greater example than this. I was horrified to find out that we have 20,000 young women who have not married, multiple kids, without a high school education. And that the definition of a poor person in our country is somebody who's making 6,000 EC dollars a year or less. I don't know which one is more horrifying, that we use the number 6,000 or that they are 20% of our population that fall in that classification.
So it means as the state, we have to become the father of that mother and the father of those children. You cannot keep walking by those houses every day and believe it's not your problem. Because one day you will find that problem in your house. One day your own children will be out walking and they will confront that problem. So don't believe that problem is going to go away. So we're starting a program through Este that we believe in clubs, not gangs. We believe that we need to get our kids
Playing sports at the highest quality level, which means that we have to have competition.
So when kids leave school at 2:30, they want to rush home to get to their club so they can train in football, in basketball, go swimming, and also to develop in the arts. But Mamai Flabo, your government can build the facilities.
Your government can pay for the programs, but your government cannot replace you volunteering to help this country turn around. It cannot be done alone. We need coaches. We need people to run the executive and help with the fundraising. But that all takes time. So when I say that you cannot run away from the problem, there's nothing that substitutes hard work. I don't know anybody who doesn't work hard and cannot succeed. But you cannot stay at home and do nothing and expect that you're going to become a millionaire. You cannot stay home and watch a TV show or listen to a talk show and say yes, 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 and do nothing about it.
I want us to lead the way. That when we get these clubs going, volunteer, show that they can work, give our young people a chance to succeed in life. Spider is working very hard in social development and inequity. We want to empower local government. The cleaning of the playing fields are going to be done on a local government basis. Monitoring of the education system is going to be.
Roads is going to be done in local government. But the most important one is helping the more vulnerable people in our society. We must review the poverty list. And we must create a program now that if you are vulnerable, that you don't have to go and beg for support.
If we know that you cannot afford to send your kids to school, we need to help you. We need to make sure that your children and yourself are being fed well. We need to make sure that you have school books. We need to make sure that your children have more than one pair of shoes before they're going to school. But if we're going to do that, we have to change the tax structure of our country. That all the people who are benefiting from the subsidy of rice, flour, and sugar, they have to pay. And we have to use that money to be able to help the more vulnerable people in our society. We must give them that chance. We must give them that hope that they can succeed. But Mamai Flabo, all of these things cannot happen unless we agree to amend this, to fix this. Because it's all the amendments and the fixing that comes about to become change. Change is not one thing by itself, but it's many different actions that we have to do to bring about change in our country. In the area of agriculture, we're going to focus on 7 crops. We're going to give our farmers contracts so our farmers don't have to guess what price they're going to get or who they're going to be selling to. By focusing on 7 crops, we can make sure that they're the best tomato producers, they're the best cabbage and the best cucumber producers, and they can focus on one thing. And we have to introduce technology in order to allow them to produce those things year-round. We must show them how to get more productivity from 1 acre of land. You cannot grow 1 crop. You have to grow multiple crops. You have to improve the productivity of your land, and it must be done through technology. And in speaking to many young people, they are happy to get back into that industry if they can see a return on their investment, their time. Cocoa. We have to get into cocoa. We're now talking about medicinal marijuana. Castries Market. We have to grow Castries Market. We have to create an outlet. We have to create an opportunity for the young people when they're producing things, and those single mothers at home. All those coconuts, when they're cut on the side of the road, where are they going? They're going to Dayglobe. We must understand and see that as an asset. Put that into a material that we can give to those young women. Teach them a skill on how to make different things. And buy those products for them. And make sure that the only products we're selling in Castries Market are made in St. Lucia. We can do it.
Damage, and they can get to those roads. And we have to build those roads enough that we put proper drainage in. We have to teach our farmers how to be able to grow new bananas and intercropping, so that when the wind comes, they don't lose all of their bananas.
In order for us to get 5% growth a year, which is the minimum requirement that we need, we have to find
$5 billion of investment in this country.
That's the number. 5 billion. And between the roads and the airport, the new St. Jude's, the police headquarters, we're going to get about $1 billion of investment that we would have driven. But it means that we have to get $4 billion of investment coming into this country. We created the headquarters. We had 6 companies come in and open up their headquarters. Any St. Lucian working at that headquarter does not pay any personal income tax. That's a way of making sure that we're not getting menial jobs, but we're getting meaningful jobs. We're working on several projects. The Pearl of the Caribbean. They said it could not be done. The Labour Party was in negotiations before we came into government. They couldn't get it done, but United Workers' Party, we will do it. The horse racing track is about to open. I'll be announcing very soon the contract to start building the new cruise ship port in Vieux Fort. And all those taxi drivers, all the people living in Choiseul and in Laborie and the Micous, your turn to be able to benefit the cruise industry will soon be a reality. We're working with Sandals, a $200 million investment. We're working with Hyatt, 400 rooms. The Rex Resort now is going to be building a new Planet Hollywood. So we're breaking down the old Rex, which has been broken down already, and we're looking to get those plans approved as quickly as possible. Fairmont, we can do it. Bay Gardens, residences, we can do it. Canals, we have a new property coming, we can do it. The Castries redevelopment, we can do it. My Flabo, you did not appoint an executive to come here and waste time and enjoy the benefits of being a minister. You appointed an executive to work. And I'm proud to say Stevenson King, Ezekiel Joseph, Gail Rickerberg, Guy Joseph, Herod Stanislaus, Estefan, all my ministers, Mary, Sarah, Fortuna, everybody is working hard in order to build a new St. Lucia. So we're missing one thing, my friend. Too many of you are listening to the stories of fake news out there. Too many people. Let us not lose sight of why we elected this government. We elected this government to be able to deliver prosperity to every St. Lucian. We are at the halfway mark. We are exactly 2.5 years in government. I told you it would take 3 years in order for you to really start feeling the engine going. We can do it. But my Flabo, you are too quiet. I need you to get the fire back in your belly. I need you to believe in your government. I need you to believe in the direction that we're going. You have hired your executive. You have elected your executive. My good chairman now has said that he's going to make sure that you're benefiting. Your voice matters in this party. Every day, your voice matters. But my Flopo, there's only so many hours in one day. Alan Chastanet cannot do it by himself. Ezekiel Joseph cannot do it by himself. Stephenson King cannot do it by himself. Guy Joseph cannot do it by himself. We all have to do it together. We all have to do it together. We have a great keynote speaker coming this afternoon, a gentleman I have great admiration for, a man who has won 2 elections, 15-0, 15-0. So I want to give some inspiration to you to know that Labour Party did 16-1, but it's our turn now to be 17-1. But if we're going to take 17-1, I don't want to hear people tell me we cannot win Laborie, so we should not spend money in Laborie. I don't want to hear that we cannot win Vieux-Fort North, and we should not spend money in Vieux-Fort North. I don't want to hear that we cannot win Vieux-Fort South, and we should not spend money there. And I want to hear that we cannot win Castries East. But Mama Fabo, if we are to win 17-0, all of you have to work together. We cannot let people believe that United Workers' Party is quiet, because sometimes people confuse quiet without support. I need you to raise your voice. I need you to hold that flambeau high. And I need you to know that your party is working for you. Thank you very, very much.
Political leader.
So we're just coming to the end of the first session, the morning session of the 40th convention of the United Workers' Party here at the Stanley John Odlum Memorial Secondary School at Marigot. We've just listened to the Prime Minister delivering what was supposed to be his acceptance remarks. As we know, the executive was re-elected, so to speak, unopposed. So technically there was not a re-election, but they were endorsed and once again to serve for a next term, which is effectively 1 year. So Prime Minister Alan Chastanet basically highlighted what he saw as the achievements of his government, and he also spoke of the challenges which the United Workers' Party, the ruling United Workers' Party, inherited when it took over the reins of power in June of 2016. So we're about to break for lunch here at the 40th convention of the United Workers' Party. And we are standing by for some interviews. We'll be speaking to some key members of the United Workers' Party on this very significant moment, because it's the halfway mark for the United Workers' Party. It's 2.5 years since they won the elections and 2.5 years left for election to be called. So it's a point in which they are going to be looking back at what has been achieved, but crucially they are going to be looking forward as what they intend to achieve in the coming 2.5 years. We heard the Prime Minister speaking about some of the infrastructural works to be undertaken in St. Lucia. He highlighted roads, the airport development, and in fact he's saying on Tuesday that the Parliament of St. Lucia will be meeting to lend support to pass effectively a bill entitling them and to source some $130 million, which would be for the airport project and for roads from north to south of the island. So clearly, the United Workers' Party will be placing lots of emphasis on infrastructure. They spoke a lot about healthcare as well. And interestingly, one of the things that got a very rousing response from the public here is when he spoke about crime. And from all indication, he's suggesting that his government is going to be taking a much harder line against crime and criminals on the island. We know that over the past couple of weeks, we've seen an upsurge in very violent crime in St. Lucia, and this past weekend was particularly bloody. We had a double homicide on the chaussee, and there was the incident at Sunbelt as well, and this followed on the heels of a number of very ugly incidents. So crime clearly on the mind of the Prime Minister. So as we wait for the interviews here, and I'm still waiting for the persons who are coming to speak with me, officials from the United Workers' Party. And it is Stanley Lucien, first of all, sending you back to Master Control. And this is the end of the morning session. We'll be back very soon with the continued broadcast here at Marigot at the Stanley John Odlum Memorial School here for the 40th convention of the United Workers' Party. Is back to Master Control. Thank you. Workers' Party, 2.5 years again to go before the election. It's a delicate position. Are you looking backward or forward at this point?
I think at this point we're doing a little bit of both. Obviously, you need to look backwards to see what you have achieved, and then to look forward to what you need, what more you need to during the halfway mark to ensure that you keep your promises to the voters and to the general public. And so we're doing a little bit of both.
Okay, but tell me, what have in your mind, and as far as your party goes, the government goes, what has been the most disappointing aspect of things?
I think for us the most critical thing happening in St. Lucia is the issue with healthcare. This is an issue that affects everybody. This is an issue that everybody is passionate about. And this is an issue that was the most critical for us during the campaign. Obviously, we did not understand the mess that healthcare was in, especially with the issue of St. Jude's and also the issue with ONOKEU. And unfortunately, the Labour Party has been able to turn it into a political situation, which we're trying as much as possible not to. But it is one of the areas or the sectors that the United Workers' Party administration is putting more focus and more emphasis on in ensuring that we deliver affordable quality healthcare to all St. Lucians.
Okay, we saw when the Prime Minister spoke about the whole issue of crime, there was a very animated response from the delegates and persons here. And how significant is this issue for the government? Because on the ground, people are indeed perturbed and disturbed about the level of violent crime in St. Lucia at the moment.
Security is concerning to everybody. And for us as a party, the fact that you have so many young people being killed, so many young people being involved in violence is something that is very, very concerning to us. And so you would have heard it from the delegates, and you hear it from St. Lucians as well. What I do want to say to St. Lucians that it is not only a governmental approach that is going to solve that issue. You look at some of the situations that lead to those deaths of those young people, and it tells us a lot about us as a society. I'm a parent, I have 4 children, so it says a lot about how we raise our children, what we do at the community level, how we as a society and as a people come together and what we do and how we raise and train our people, how we endeavor and harness the community spirit. All these things are contributing factors or non-contributing factors to what is happening in St. Lucia. So I think it's important for all of us, St. Lucians, Labour Party, United Workers' Party, No Party, to come together to revisit what we do in our homes, in our community, in our churches, in our society, to see how we can save our young people from that element.
Okay, thank you very much. This is Nancy Charles, and we're just waiting on to speak with Mr. Augustine here. We're trying to get his attention. He's right here with us. Mr. Augustine, we saw you. First of all, congratulations. And you're still the chairman of the United Workers' Party. And what are you looking forward to in the year and a half, the 2.5 years coming up?
First, I wasn't the chairman, I was the general secretary.
Sorry, my correction here. General Secretary of the United Workers' Party, Mr. Augustine. And your vision for the 2.5 years left?
Okay, first I have to go back. When I actually took up the position of General Secretary of the party, I only really did it so that we could have gone into elections and remove the Labour Party, because I realized we had a great team, and under Alan Shasley, the country would have progressed. But I happened to stay on for a few more years. I actually was the General Secretary in 2013. Then we had our convention again in 2015. Alan Shasley was endorsed again as the leader. I actually figured that we were now in government, that I should retire. But for some reason, I kept on hearing my name for the chairman of the party. And when I looked at the party means well. The party has good plans for the country, but things were moving very slow. And as anything else, a party must look after its foot soldiers. You have to look after the country, everybody. But you really have to look at your foot soldiers who actually got you into office. Nothing seemed to be happening. People were crying to me, coming to me, so I figured that I would have made a move for the chairmanship of the party. They asked me to do it. I did. And it's really not for myself. It's really not for myself.
Okay.
It's really for our supporters and St. Lucia in general.
Now, we've seen over the past, let's say, decade and a half, over the past 3 elections, the St. Lucian electorate becoming very impatient with whichever government is in power. How do you, and we heard the rumblings on the ground, how do you intend to address those concerns?
Well, we have to address those concerns by any means necessary. We have 5 years to make the people of St. Lucia feel happy. There was a kind of politics played in St. Lucia where you had to give handouts. This kind of politics must stop. We have to provide the jobs and the environment for our people to work. And that's what I see with this present government. It won't happen in one day. You will still have to give a little handouts. But at the end of it all, I can see this government trying to create jobs, trying to have proper housing, to get everybody employed so they can do what. The only piece of the people you'll probably get unemployed are those who don't want to work.
Okay. But yes, and there's the element of time as well. And effectively, you have 2 years to... 2.5. Well, 2.5, but effectively 2 years to turn things around. Right. And do you think time is sufficient? It's on your side?
It is sufficient for the start, because when you have a country that was so politicized, it is hard to do what you have to as soon as you get into office. You had a public service that was heavily politicized. You have to wait until people's contracts end so that you could put people who think differently to make things happen. Some of our supporters would say things are not happening quickly enough. They want to see all of the Labour Party people who used to work for government be shoved away. You cannot do that. You simply cannot do that. It takes time. So you can, if a Labour Party worker is a good worker, you cannot dismiss him. Everybody have the choice of what party they want to support.
Okay.
And people must take the time and allow the government to do what it has to do. I know the government has plans. The first 2.5 years has gone. I can tell you the next 2.5 years will be action.
Okay.
We cannot finish all what we want to within the 5 years, but you will see a lot happening.
Now, the issue of crime, I spoke about it, and earlier we heard the Prime Minister speaking about it, and we saw the response of, you know, the attendees here. And it is really one of the most significant things on people's minds. We've seen a very violent 2 weeks with lots of homicides and brutal, you know, gunshots, and also knives being used as well. And it's a matter that has to be addressed with a certain amount of urgency, a certain level of urgency. Is there a very clear game plan to address this right now?
Well, you see, this one is for the lawmakers. That is for the policemen and it's through the government, or, you know, with the AG and whatnot. They are the lawmakers. You can never really eradicate full crime, but you can control the crime and try to bring down the crime rate in the country. I know my government is working towards it. In the last few years, you would realize that the Americans have pulled out support from St. Lucia based on a few police killings which took place a few years ago. I know my government has been talking to the U.S. government, and they're trying to get a solution. Once there is drugs, crime will continue. There's big money in drugs. People just figure, you know, once they have once they have that money, that is all they require. They don't care about living peacefully with people. Just once they have it, you touch my drugs, you know, you're killed. And my government, I know, is working towards a solution. They're trying to create more playing fields, get the young ones who are coming up more active, you know, get the police well trained. But remember one thing, as a country develops, you will get crime. What a government has to do is control the crime. And I know this government have intentions of controlling the crime.
Thank you very much, Mr. Augustine. So we were just speaking here with the General Secretary of the United Workers' Party, now Chairman of the party, and Mr. Augustine. And we're on our lunch break here at the Stanley John Odlum Memorial School, where the United Workers' Party is holding its 40th convention. And so we're on our lunch break, like I said earlier, so I'll be signing out. It's back to Master Control. We'll be back in about an hour's time with the second segment of this convention. Stanley Lucien, back to Master Control.